Hi guys, it's Stacy with Nurse and Nurture. I just sat down to study and I thought I would pop on, sit on, log on, upload. I thought I would take the opportunity to talk about my clinical experience that I've had. So yesterday was my last day of my first clinical for my third year. I'm a third year nursing student. My clinical was on a maternity unit here at one of the local hospitals, and I had a really interesting situation happen a couple days ago that I really am grateful for the learning opportunity and really grateful for applying things that I know from my previous life working in mental health and then seeing it through a nursing lens. I had so many great experiences on this clinical, learning about babies and moms and all the post and pre-complications that can happen, that I'm really grateful for it. And thinking about maternity before this experience, I probably would have told you no. Not really an area of my interest, but now I'm just like, holy, I wish I could have seen a baby come out. But it was a really great opportunity to learn, and I'm really thankful. And the situation that I've been reflecting a lot on is we went into a room to do a newborn assessment, and then you could tell there was some stress in the room. We had been in there a couple times, and basically, long story short, the dad had been labeled as controlling. He was told to me to basically be ignoring his wife, asking too many questions, being bossy, and that personally was not something that I had seen. And seeing how he did behave and how I observed him, I actually saw something completely different that to me makes a whole lot of sense. And I want to kind of bring this up so that we can think about it and talk about it, because it's just a reminder to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. You don't know what someone is thinking and feeling, and I feel like sometimes we're quick to jump to conclusions to label people with negative connotations that just doesn't really seem necessary. I'm glad that it didn't change the practice of the person who, came up with this controlling label for the individual, because that really would have bothered me and probably would have been a different conversation. But I just feel like it's important now to bring it up. So basically there's this couple. The baby is, oh gosh, less than 24 hours old by the time this was all going down. And the dad, you go in the room, he's so attentive, both parents lovely, the best kind of people you want to have in a room in terms of as a student and wanting to learn. They were supportive, they were patient, they were kind, and just really open to our experience and open to us wanting to learn. So I have all the gratitude, and I'm so thankful for them for that experience, because I really got to learn a lot. I never got to listen to a little newborn baby's heartbeat, and it's completely different than listening to an adult heart. So I got to put some of those skills to use, and it was wicked. And going into the room, you would see the dad standing, being very active. I did overhear a conversation between the husband and the wife where she's like, oh babe, like I told you it's okay. And then he proceeded to ask one of the healthcare professionals, one of the nurses, about something that was going on with the baby, nothing at all to be concerned of. And he's just like, you know what, hon, I'm really sorry, but I feel better hearing the information from the nurses. Cool. And so then we're out in the hall and we're talking, and a staff says, he should be fine. He has had, I can't remember, but he's had like 3 or 4 kids. This isn't his first time. Why is he being so controlling? Why is he ignoring her? And in my head, I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I don't see, and I didn't see a man who was being controlling. I saw someone who maybe was a little anxious. I saw a couple who was tired, like they probably hadn't slept for like 48 hours now, and anxious, tired, and then maybe just like all those emotions being on a high, bringing into a new life into the world, like it can be really tiresome and exhausting. And what I feel like some people didn't take into consideration when labeling this man as controlling and kind of negatively regarding him is that let's think about what this family has been through in the last 24 to 48 hours. So picture it. Mom comes in for a routine C-section. Routine cannot happen. The process to have the epidural was unsuccessful after multiple attempts to put that needle in her spine. Didn't work. So she had to go out. She had to be completely put under. I love the sound of him going. She had to be completely put under, put to sleep to have this baby come out. So what I've learned throughout this process is that when you have a C-section, it's not always a simple matter of you being cut open and this baby like being squeezed out of a hole. It's actually, and I don't know how standard it is, but according to the instructor that I had, she said the uterus will come out with the baby kind of in it, and then they take it out, and the baby goes on its way, and then there's a lot of cleaning, cauterizing, and suturing up the uterus, and then putting it back in. That's standard. However, when things don't go as planned, and Mother Nature, or whatever it is you want to call it, throws a curveball at you, other things can happen. So this poor mom had to have a C-section where she was completely put to sleep. She didn't get to be conscious for the delivery of her baby. Then she had a hemorrhage. Quite a severe hemorrhage. We were told there was a lot of massaging of her uterus. They injected the medication straight into her uterus as it's outside of her body. And then they had to give her more medications and lots of interventions to help cease this hemorrhage from happening. So I don't know where the dad was at this point. I don't know that if when the C-section changed from, hey, she can't be awake, we're going to put her to sleep, if he was allowed to be in the room or not and observe the birth of his baby. All I know for sure is that that dad was present and he was the first person to do the skin-to-skin contact with the baby. Mother couldn't do it, she was not conscious. So I don't know if he was in the room when this baby came out and his wife's body parts are outside of her body, and if he observed her hemorrhage or if he just heard about it. Nonetheless, bringing a brand new life into the world, change of plans so that your wife isn't conscious there with you when this new life comes. 2, emergency happens and you're with this newborn baby. Just take a moment to think about the stress that situation could cause for anybody. I don't care if you've had 7 babies and everyone had an emergency situation. That's still stressful. Picturing that happening to your partner is terrifying. So I'm trying to give this man some credit. He was very anxious. This baby came into the world in a different way. He was there to be the hands that caught that baby and to hold it skin to skin for the first time. And then whether he observed what happened with his wife and all the medical interventions that went on to basically save her life, or he just heard about it, that's terrifying. So I like to think of this man as a traditional male, and maybe he sees himself as the protector of the family. And how do you protect your wife during this situation when she's in an OR by herself and all you can do is take care of your baby? So when I see him in the room and he might be a little higher energy in terms of walking around and asking lots of questions, to me that he's telling me he's anxious, he's scared, he just had a terrifying experience go on, and he's very, very receptive to all the information he's being told. He was a rock star with his wife the first time we got her out of that bed. He was cheering her on, telling her how good she looked, telling her how amazing she's doing, and genuinely was checking on her and asking if she was okay, telling her to take her time and that it's okay to ask for help. So I don't understand how that can be perceived as controlling in my mind. However, having that come out of my mouth saying controlling, when we are stressed, scared, anxious for whatever, we feel the need to control our environments. I have learned this time and time again, working in mental health, working with kids who've been labeled out of control, and it's because there's a stress going on. For whatever it was that is triggering that stress, you feel a need to control. And I think this situation hits me right in my feelings is because I just feel like that dad was misunderstood, and instead of celebrating all the great things that he was doing and being such a supportive partner, that some people just labeled him as controlling and rolled their eyes when like this is what we want. Like this is a power couple in that room and I'm so excited for them. Sorry, I get like a little like lit up about it, but I was so proud of that couple, and I felt like I was wrong when they're like, no, he's controlling. And I'm like, actually, like, I don't see that. I just see like some stress, and rightfully so. Whether or not all that stuff just happened with the hemorrhage and her not being awake for the birth, like, you're bringing a new life into this world, and that's a whole other thing. I don't have any babies, but I can only just imagine he now has another life that is dependent on him. Your whole dynamic changes. I feel so, well, I'll say it again, I feel so lit up about this because it reminds me of a time when Terry first started getting sick and we had to take him into the hospital, and after what felt like forever, I think it was 12 to 14 hours in emerge, he was admitted. And I remember going home, taking care of the dog, and then going back to meet him, and I just was fueled, like, and at that point, similar to this dad, like, I knew that he was okay, that he wasn't dying, but that there was stuff going on and he needed to be monitored. And I felt like I had no control. I felt like, you know, I'm relying on all these people to keep my person safe. And, wow, I don't know why I'm getting choked up about this. Sorry. I was just reminded that, like, I was relying on all these other people to take care of my person, and I didn't know what I could do. Wow. Whew, Terry, how did that go? It's a very vulnerable position to be in, to rely on other people to take care of your world, your life. And as a doer and a caretaker and a support person, much like I feel like this father, as a protector, as a provider, I felt like I had to do something, I had to act. So I'm like collecting all these things, like, what can I do to make Terry's experience at the hospital like more bearable, more comfy? And I became kind of defensive. If anyone questioned what I was doing, or I didn't perceive it in a way that they were like on board with, you know, my Mary Poppins bag of stuff with me to try and support him, I took it really personally. And I wanted to ask questions and get information. And I believe that in that situation, I was not my best person because I was scared. I was stressed. I was tired. We were in emerge all night. I left probably 7 o'clock in the morning, went to work, went home, and then back to the hospital for Terry. I can't really remember the timeline, but it was something like that. It was a very long period of time without sleep and all these things going on. And I can only imagine that probably some of those staff and maybe other people around really thought I was sorry, I don't know if I should swear. They may have thought that I was controlling, or just like I don't know. So I'm really trying to carry forward these experiences into my practice and remembering my lens of life and my professional experience to understand, you know, what drives our behavior, what makes us act certain ways, and what are the things we can do to support people in those situations. When Terry was in the hospital, I just wanted someone to talk to me calmly, give me information, and, you know, basically that's it. Like, smile. Because we know our limits, usually. We know what we can and can't do, and I trust and rely on medical professionals, and I'm sure this dad did too. I never felt an ounce of distrust for medical professionals or what his wife was saying. I just think it's that reassurance, and sometimes when you're stressed and your lid is flipped, you don't take in information as well, and you might need to hear it a couple times. So we need to remember that as, you know, nursing students and people in general, that when someone is stressed, they're not able to take in the information and process it the same. So you might have to say it a couple times to them. You might have to say it in different ways and keep it really simple. Because what I found really useful with this couple was telling them all the things they're doing good, telling them when we'll be back again, just being very matter of fact. And I think it's super important that when we're doing assessments on moms and babies, we also take the time to ask how the dad is doing. And I recognize I'm saying dad, but this situation can apply to anybody. My experience, it was a mom and a dad and a little baby boy. But whoever that support person is for your patient, the mother, the birther, whomever, their main support person is a huge variable in their life. So I believe that patient and baby are my priorities, but so is that support person, that dad in this situation. He has a huge impact on the mother's well-being. She has, he is her person, her biggest pillar of support there. So we need to check in on them. And I'm realizing that we do this bubble assessment, bubbly, and it talks about the emotional status of the mother, but nothing has been super highlighted to us yet about the emotional status of the partner. And I think, especially given emergency situations and complications and just bringing on new life in general, we really should, I think we need to, and I don't have all the answers, but how do we include them in a really useful and productive way? Had I been in my mental health role, I would have sat down and be like, hey dad, how are you doing? As a nursing student, I didn't really feel that was appropriate. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I'm there to learn and take it all in and reflect on it, and I think that's what I'm doing. So I'd really like to, if this is a topic that kind of raised some questions or raised your eyebrows or something you have a thought of, please share it with me. I'm excited to keep conversations like this going. I'm learning so much and I'm excited to think about it and kind of stretch the bigger picture. But I really just wanted to share this experience because I do believe that a conclusion was jumped to without really reflecting and taking all perspectives and variables into consideration. And I believe that it wasn't detrimental to anybody's care, but I just think we could have done better in that situation. And that's something that I think is important to strive to, is just always doing better, because how you carry yourself and what you believe and how you speak really becomes how you carry yourself at the same time. And I think it's an active process to engage in this type of thinking and just to be aware of all the different things and where we come from. Because at the end of the day, the couple behind closed door, if there was something going on that maybe was or wasn't negative, it's really none of my business. I can only deal with what's in front of my face. And I think in that situation, they were doing really great. And I just hope that down the road, if I'm ever in the hospital and there's a group of medical students or nursing students or CCAs or whomever has the opportunity to learn, that I can be just as good as this couple, that I can really embrace people wanting to learn. And I think the biggest thing I take out of that is my appreciation for them, and like to see what I believe is a couple who's going to do awesome, and a baby that's so lucky to have them as their mom and dad. It makes me really excited. So I'm sorry, I feel like I went on a little bit of a tangent here, but make sure you hit the subscription button so you don't miss any more of my little tangents. I really just want to talk about things that I believe in and am passionate about, and to kind of share the good, and I think this was an important one. If you like it, give me a little thumbs up, I'll love it. And like I said, if this kind of raises any questions, concerns, feedback, anything you want to share your experiences, maybe you disagree with me or had something else you want to say that I should think about, please, I'm all ears, and I'm just really excited. Let's keep these conversations going, and most importantly, don't forget to nan yourself.